Hello, everybody, and welcome. Please help me welcome Ashley Farley to the Lowcountry Book Club today. We have Ashley in to discuss the book of the month, Magnolia Nights, and she's going to tell us all about her inspiration for that. And back this month again is Greene to help us discuss this book and anything that needs discussing. These ladies are here to discuss it today. We have your questions. We're going to talk about all kinds of things. Liz Talley was going to join us, but she had a family, not emergency, but she had something she had to take care of. So Amy's not going to be here. Okay. Liz is not going to be here today. And she'll be back with us next time, I hope. We're going to have a blooper reel in a little bit. All right. So everybody welcome Ashley. And I have one question that I want to start out with. No. We'll start out with where she's from, because she says that she's from a salt marsh in South Carolina. And I asked her earlier, and I want her to share with you guys which particular salt marsh in South Carolina she's from. So Ashley, tell us about your background. Tell us all about you and your people.
All right, I'll tell all. Well, I'm actually originally grew up in Myrtle Beach. Las Vegas by the Sea is what my husband has nicknamed it. And he's not all wrong. But we had a beach house, we still do, in on Garden City Beach, which is across from Murrells Inlet. And it's just a beautiful area. Just quiet and I spent my days in the water and the boats and fishing and clam digging and all of those kinds of things. And so really my heart resides still in Murrells Inlet in that area.
Oh, it's beautiful. I was telling
Mhm.
Ashley earlier, actually, we've vacationed there many times. And actually, what I didn't tell you, and I'll share now, is that Jim and I were actually married in Garden City.
Oh, were you really?
We went down one Labor Day weekend. This was second marriage for both of us. So we went down one Labor Day weekend, found a minister, and it was the guy at Garden City Chapel. And we walked in,
Really?
and he had a like a life-size gorilla with a fez in his office, and we thought, we're in the right place. This guy has a sense of humor. So he married us the next day, and we had dinner at the Japanese steakhouse. That was our wedding, but it worked. It took. I'm sorry.
I
We're
love
going to
it.
talk.
I love it. I spent many Sundays at the Garden City Chapel. That's a
Really,
special place, a very
it
special
is.
place.
It is. It's a
Yes.
small world. We'll talk more
It,
about that later. We're going to talk about your book. But first, y'all, Ashley has written 30 novels. Now, I'm going to pin her down on this. Grace, you help me, because her first book was published in 2013, which is a year after my first book.
Mhm.
My 12th book is getting ready to come out. Ashley has 30 books. I want to know how you have published 30 books in the length of time it has taken me to publish 12. Please do tell.
well, mainly because I have no life other than writing, but I'm just teasing. Honestly, if I could write faster, I would, because I have a list this long of books I want to write. The
Wow.
ideas keep coming, and the characters, they're just there until I get them out, and I have to keep going. And there's some things that I don't spend as much time on social media as some other authors, because the writing is where I focus my attention on, because it's my love. And I have um a word count that I try to get in every day, and a process. The first few books,
Right.
it takes a lot longer to get through those.
Right.
Um, but once you do it, a few times, a few dozen times, it gets easier. And the writing just kind of comes. And so I've been able to streamline my writing process a lot, which has definitely helped me to write
Wow.
faster. But it's all about the characters and just getting them. That is my goal, is to get them out of my head and onto the paper and into my readers' hands.
Well, you're impressive. Grace, do you have questions for Ashley on this subject?
Do you ever run into times where you go, written too many books in this setting, or kind of tired of these characters? How do you keep yourself in the game, your head in the game?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a good question, and it's interesting because I think I've decided I'm a 4 book series author, because that's about the extent my
Hmm.
focus and inspiration last. My Hope Spring series is 5 books, but I took a little time between those. The most recent two, Palmetto Island and Virginia Vineyards, are both 4 books. So I think it is, I don't know. I think that's just, I get to that point when I have to stop.
Yes.
And I'm curious about other authors who write series. If you take breaks, like do you as other authors think it's okay to take breaks from a series and then come back to them?
There's a
Because
risk.
sometimes,
I think there's a risk because
Mhm.
your writing voice matures and changes as you move through your novels. So if
True.
you do like I did with one of my series and you write book 1 and 2 right together, and then you take 2 years to write other things and then come back, even the readers will mention that it sounds like a different voice. It's a different kind of book. And I
That's
think
That's a
that's
good
interesting.
point.
because you do grow and mature as
Hmm.
you in your writing.
I think you do. And I've noticed myself in later books, like right now I have the one series, but there are 12 books in that series, and well, 11 books in a short story collection. And my 12th book is the first book in a new series. So I noticed myself as I was writing those last few books that I felt like the voice was different a little bit from when I wrote
Mhm.
that first book, because a long time had passed, and I had
Right.
learned a little more, hopefully, about what I was doing, and my character had kind of matured a little bit, and I think that's true. I think that, some people have great success with it. I mean, look at Janet Ivanovich. I was just looking, I
Yeah.
saw a cover. I was on Amazon earlier doing something, and I saw a cover, I think, for her 30th book in the series or something like that. And more power to her, but I'm not sure I can carry a series that long. I think I get worn out with it after a while, kind of like what you're saying, but maybe it took me a little longer with the first one. But I say that, and I kind of have an idea for a different kind of series with this new one, and we'll see. I think I maybe can go a little longer. I've left myself a little more leeway with the new series,
Mhm.
and the first one was kind of tied in. It was these specific characters and this specific location, and I've kind of given myself a little bit of freedom with the new one. But so, Ashley, the book that we read this month, Magnolia Nights, that's set in
Hmm.
Charleston, South Carolina. Did you
Right.
spend time in Charleston when you were writing this book?
I've spent a lot of time in Charleston, and my mom, who will be 91 in May, thank God she's healthy now, but she had a series of abdominal surgeries, and she was
Oh,
down at MUSC, and there were
mm,
4 of them, and
mm,
I was with her for a week after each one.
wow.
So that was all during that time, and I spent most of the time at MUSC at the hospital, but I had some awesome morning walks and afternoon walks, and
Hmm.
that was just took breaks. So yes, I feel like I know that downtown area like the back of my hand. And I was born in Charleston, and I just love it. It's my favorite place in the whole entire world.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so
It's
yes,
hard to beat Charleston for setting.
Yeah,
And you
it is.
used
I
it
it
love it.
really is.
beautifully in Magnolia Nights. You used it
Oh,
beautifully.
Thank you.
Shemcrete, the restaurants there, and the Battery, and all. I've been down a number of times, and those are all places I've gone. The market, all that.
right.
It was
Hmm.
beautifully done. The setting was beautifully
Thank you.
rendered.
Yeah, you can't beat Charleston. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is gorgeous, and as I was reading it, because I can visualize all those places, it's like taking a mini vacation, and I love that, and I,
Yes.
I try to I try to give that sort of experience. I think readers appreciate it when they can go visit, familiar places, and you did that very well. And
Mhm.
so the particular house that Ellie inherits from her grandmother, is that a real house, or did you kind of make one up and slip it into that row along South Battery?
No, it is a real house. And then I think I wrote that book in between one of my mom's surgeries, and I spent a lot of time just walking back and forth in that area. And
Hmm.
maybe I have a lot of Pinterest boards for a lot of
Hmm.
my novels. The actual house, I'd have to go back and look, but the actual house may be on there. Of course, I don't know what it looks like inside. That's all fabricated. But yes, in terms of the exterior, I definitely went. And I usually do. I do that for characters too. I find pictures
Mhm.
online
I
and I
do
use
that
them for
too.
inspiration.
I do that too. You know what I've done a couple of times when I was looking for homes in Charleston to set scenes and all that is if I was looking on a particular seat, I would go or a particular street, I would go into like Zillow and Trulia and
Yeah.
all like that, and find a house that had been for sale, like I don't know, a year ago or months ago or whatever. Maybe it's
Mhm.
not on the market now, but the listing is still out there, and you can find them, and so then you can see what they look like inside, and
Yeah, it's brilliant.
set the scenes based on that. I mean, of course, I change things so that it's not
Right.
exactly, but it is helpful to kind of visualize the insides. Anyway, I digress. All right. So the
The
house
other
is a
thing I've
real
spent a
house.
lot of time with, and let me just say this is in Charleston that I love, are the cemeteries. I mean, people are like, that is so
Oh,
morbid, but
yes.
you can get the best names from the cemeteries. And I
Mhm.
think that
Yes, you
when
can.
I was
Yeah.
refreshing my memory about this book, a lot of those names came from that little
Right.
cemetery that's right across from downtown.
Right, right, right. So
So,
I was looking for a cemetery one time, and I was talking to a reader who actually lives in Charleston and had lived there. I mean, she's like a 11th generation Charlestonian, and I did not realize Magnolia Cemetery. Yeah, I had no idea
yeah,
because it's not right there on the peninsula, and
right.
she turned me on to that. And
Yes,
I set several scenes at Magnolia Cemetery since
yes.
then. So yeah,
I
that's
have
a
as
great.
well. You know,
Yeah.
I have a funny story about Magnolia Cemetery. My husband and I went. This is not a non-surgery time for my mom. My husband and I went down to Charleston for a few days, and he is on the board of Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond. And he loves cemeteries too. So we went out to Magnolia. I had my camera, and I was just taking pictures, and I got attacked by bugs. I'm curious if this has ever happened to you. I don't know because it's set like in the marsh. There
Yep.
were just all these gnats. I was like, but
Yep.
bugs.
No Sims. No
No, see,
Sims. Yep. Oh, they
they
are
were just
vicious.
swarmed.
Yep. They are vicious. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Have been there and
it's
done that. When we
beautiful,
used,
beautiful cemetery though.
oh, it is. We lived in Mount Pleasant for a while, which is right across the Cooper River, and we would sit out in the evenings to watch our sons play sports or whatever. I had to go to a like a sporting goods store and get this net suit that hunters and fishermen wear. It's like a warm up suit, but it's made out of net, and then it has this thing that comes down over your head like a hood you put on over your ball cap and tuck it in, and
Mhm.
that kept the bugs off me. That's the only way I could sit out and watch those boys play ball because the bugs would just eat me alive. The
Bugs.
no-see-ums and all, I don't know, other stuff too, but just all the little bugs. Ooh, anyway, okay, back to Magnolia Nights. I'm sorry, I'm having a
South
I'm gonna
really
Carolina
hard
start
for
time.
you.
itching.
I'm
We're
having a
we're
really hard
lucky on
time
the
staying
inlands.
on track.
Yes.
I
Okay,
have a question for you, Ashley, if I may.
Sure.
When you were writing or getting ready to write Magnolia Nights, taking you back a little ways, what's your inspiration for that? Did you say, I want to write a book about this sort of big, creepy, dark, heavy aired old house? Or I have these characters that I'd like to see what happens with them when they are thrust into this situation. What was your
I think it
inspiration or your what if?
I think it started with the little ghost story that I wanted to with the grandmother. I think I just like I want to write and that came from Karen White, maybe a little inspiration from her.
Yes.
She likes to write about ghosts. I think that it started there. And then I love the idea of, Ellie coming back after many, many, many years and revisiting her childhood. Of course, the Magnolia Tree. I just love Magnolia trees. So that was
too.
inspiration too. So it was a combination together. But it usually does start with a character for me. Um,
Right.
and then an interesting character, and then I think of the situation to throw them into, see how they get out of it.
I
Boy,
love
that
how you
grandmother.
balanced
Yeah,
the sort of eerie elements, the door not staying open, some
yes,
heavy atmosphere, without turning it into a paranormal novel.
yes, I didn't want it to be
Right,
too off I want it to be realistic, a realistic
right,
ghost. I mean,
Right.
and all
right.
those houses in downtown Charleston are full of them, from what I hear.
And don't we all
I
experience some of those
Yes,
oddities?
yes.
I
I'm sure
I
some of them are
maintain
explainable.
I maintain if you're in Charleston, there are ghosts, and writing about ghosts is completely natural. It's like writing about the oak trees, the live oak trees and the
Hmm.
Spanish moss
Oh,
are there, and the ghosts are there too. It's all
mhm.
part of it. But that grandmother, Ashley, where did you get the idea for that
She was
character?
wicked, wasn't she?
She was
She
pure
Oh,
was.
evil.
she really was. I don't know. She just was just my vehicle to make everything happen.
Right,
You have to have a villain. Um,
right.
you have characters that you love and characters that you love to hate, although she's not one that you love to hate. But
Yeah.
she
Well, that
it did
grandmother's
I mean
husband Edwin must have had a terrible life. No wonder he died young.
yes, yes. The I forgot what I was gonna say, something about her. Anyway, lost my train of
She
thought.
she was pure evil, and it's interesting. It's like when you were talking about her history, it sounds like she wasn't always that mean and crazy. Like she had a social life. They referred a little bit to her social life and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
whatnot. And I wondered if you ever go back and kind of explore what in the world happened to that woman that make her that
What
mean.
happened to her?
Does she have her own story? Kind of like they have Wicked that explores how the one of
Right.
those witches got
Yes.
the way she was. Do we ever learn exactly what went into the making of this character?
No, no, not with that one. Some I care to know a little bit more about, but she was just, like I said, I mean, a lot of people have called this a sort of a flowers in the attic kind of novel, and I just
I
needed
thought about
that,
that.
yes,
That
with
that book
locking
crossed
them
my
up.
mind. Yes,
Hmm.
that book
Yes.
crossed my
And
mind as I was reading.
it also, she made for a good ghost too.
Right.
So
Hmm.
yeah, she just had to be. I mean, nobody would
Yeah.
lock their children up except for a sick old woman.
Yeah. That was awful. Okay, so we talked a little bit about setting, and we talked a little bit about the grandmother, and I think you said Ellie was kind of your jumping off point or whatever. Now, of course, we just meet her sister towards the last part of the book, but I understand the next book we get to meet her a little more. So this is in some ways a sister's book. Did you set out to write a sister's book? Is that something you wanted to explore, or is that just something that happened as you were getting to know Ellie, and all of a sudden one day you was, oh, she had a sister, or was it part of
I
her
mean,
evolution?
is that not, it's the way it is for most of my books. I start out with a point and it is a journey of
Hmm.
discovery. And I'm sure with this case, it's been years since I wrote that book, but I'm sure I did not start out. I probably had no idea where I was going with it when I started it. Um, and then twins made a lot of sense. And, so
Hmm.
yeah. The I stopped that book a little abruptly, and I think I was criticized for it being a cliffhanger, but it was only because I had this whole other story to tell
Hmm.
about the sister, and I just needed it. It would have been a really long book if I had got going, and it
Right.
I didn't
just was.
find it
I wanted to get to it.
abrupt.
You
Yeah,
didn't?
I didn't either.
no, yeah,
Oh,
I
good.
thought, okay, there's more to tell,
Right.
but at that point, I'm content that I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, so I won't say exactly what happens. But
Well,
Right.
I was content with how you left it, and I knew there was another book if I wanted to pursue it further.
so
Exactly.
just I might not I didn't make this point before we started talking, and I sometimes forget to do it, but by the time we get to this interview being posted on Thursday of this
You
week,
should have
the
read
last
it.
Thursday in the month, everyone who is watching this interview knows that there may be, or this chat
Okay.
knows that there may be spoilers here. So it's fine to talk about what happened, because they know if they watch this, they're going to be spoilers, because we're going to talk about the book like you would talk about it at a book club after you've read the book. So it's fine to talk about things that are spoilers.
Okay, well, then I will go back and add that I think that the grandmother's character, being as it was the perfect foil for the sister and her issues. Because then you wonder, is this like even possibly a genetic thing? Right. And
Yes.
I
That
think
crossed
Ellie
my
even
mind.
wondered about that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so
Yes.
had the grandmother been this like sad person who just didn't live well, and then you get the sister showing up with her issues, it would not have been as balanced, I think. I loved how you did that. You constructed that
Yes.
balance within the
Thank
characters
you.
and the setting.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes,
you did.
definitely.
Well
That's what
done.
I had in mind.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Oh, thank you.
So, and I very much enjoyed the character of Julian. I think probably most of us did. He was a welcome.
Yes.
Oh, Julian too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope he'll be
She
back for the
needed,
next book. I haven't read the
he
next one yet.
definitely, with all, Julian does not go anywhere. He's a good one. So she needed him to help her
Yeah,
through what she was going through.
yeah,
He was
I
And
think
rough.
the
so.
father, Abbott, what a
Yeah.
surprise he turned out to be, because we're really prepared to see him as this unreliable person, who's just chasing glamour. And what a lovely
Right.
man he turned out to be.
Yes, he did. He did. He sort of, I agree. So she had two good
I,
guys in her
I
life.
I enjoyed him too. So this particular book, there's one more in this series, or is there more? You said you generally do four. Is there more coming for these characters, or is this always
No,
just going to be two?
yeah, that's definitely wrapped up here. So Beyond the
Okay,
Garden is the sequel. It again, I could have kept going. It would have been a 600-page book. So
right.
I just decided to do
Mhm.
a little sequel. And that yeah. So no
Now, is
more
that
for
one
the
set predominantly in Charleston as well?
it is. It's for the most part a continuation of Ellie's story, but the sister
Okay.
definitely plays a major role. And I don't want to spoil anything,
Yeah,
but
no,
it's
probably a lot of
Yeah,
people have
because I
not
would
read the
like to
book.
yeah.
read it, so don't tell me what happens.
Yeah,
The fun
I'm
thing
sure I
about
will too.
I can just tell you one of the fun things about Beyond the Garden is that she renovates the house.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool just to I have
Hmm.
fun doing that. Looking at a lot of pictures online and so that's that's just a fun fact about that's all I'm telling you about the sequel. But
Okay.
so
All
it's
right.
fun. Get to see the house make the transformation.
I can't wait to read it. That's coming up next for me. Okay, so this particular two books are set in Charleston. I know you have books that are set in Charleston, other series. You want to talk for a minute about those and tell us what else is set in the Lowcountry, and then your other books. I think are set near in Virginia, where you live now.
Richmond,
Is that right?
right?
Yeah.
hmm
Okay.
hmm Yep. So I like change. I'm a Gemini, so I need change. So and again, to that four book. Not only when I'm tired of the characters and I tire of the scenery, so I go back and
Hmm.
forth between. And I love Virginia, where I live in Richmond, but then I'm like, okay, well, I need to go back to because when you sit down at your computer and you live in your mind all day in a place, it isn't like it needs to be somewhere where you want to spend time. And the Low Country is that place for me. And I have the her sister shoes, the Sweeney Sisters series was my very first series,
Mhm.
set in a fictional town in the Low Country called Prospect. It's nice to have a fictional town, as you both know, because you have a lot of liberties there. You don't have to research it. It doesn't matter. You can make stuff up.
Right.
And it makes it easier in some
Hmm.
ways. So I have that series, and coincidentally, there are 5 books in that series, and I think it's probably my most popular series, and readers write to me all the time, please, we want more Sweeneys, we want more Sweeneys. So I'm finishing up the first in a spinoff series called Low Country. What is it? I've forgotten. The Heart of the Low Country, I think, is the name of the series. But it features the younger generation. The Sweeney Sisters is three older middle-aged sisters
Mhm.
that are the main characters of that series of those 5 books. But then they have all their children, so their children are now grown and causing all kinds of trouble for themselves. So it's the first one is After the Storm, and it is coming out in May. Heart of the Low Country is the name of that series. So I am going to be in the Low Country, I think, for a little while. I think I'm going to stay put down there because I also have another standalone, which is Home for Wounded Hearts. And I may create that, a series out of that. So again, I told you I have a lot of characters that
You
are
do.
knocking on my noggin saying,
Yeah.
please
You do.
come.
Now, do you do any type of outlining at all, or are you completely by the seat of your pants?
Let me just grab a sip of water. Sorry, I got a little tickle in my throat. I try to outline. I have found that if I outline, at least mentally, it goes better,
Mhm.
smoother, and faster. Then I think it's more fun just to, do the whole discovery and to see where the characters take you. But a lot of times they can take me to a dead end, and I have to dig my way out of it. So I have been trying to, not that I sit down and write down anything. Well, I mean, I may make some notes, but I don't have a really long, um, detailed outline or anything like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, and as I'm writing, I will, you know, create some things and make some notes. But for the most part, I would definitely say I'm a pantser.
Okay.
How
I
about
don't
y'all?
know. Sounds like you're a little bit of a hybrid. I'm an outliner, but I'm a flexible outliner. It's like I have that outline before I start, but I allow myself to change it if I want to. As I'm writing, as inspiration strikes, I can change things. I can add chapters, add lines to my spreadsheet. I do it with
Hmm. Hmm.
spreadsheet. I can't remember, Grace. I know we've talked about this. What do you do?
Sorry.
You outline in a spreadsheet, Susan?
I do. I outline in a spreadsheet.
Yes. No,
I
I
have
am a total, I'm totally writing organically.
really.
So yeah, I'll have the idea and it will start and I use a whiteboard to kind of track what I'm doing because you get around that 30,000 mark and you go like, what did I write? Otherwise you're writing the same scenes over
It's
and over
very
again.
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll just mark those on a whiteboard. I mean, super flexibility, right? And go from there because yeah, I have a vague idea. It's either a
Yeah.
person or a setting that I want to
Hmm.
explore.
I have
That's
um, I have one line in the spreadsheet for each chapter in the book. It's like this is the plot point. But I think part of that is because I've written mysteries so far up to now.
hmm. Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think
That's
mysteries require a
different.
little bit more
That's
plotting.
Yes.
Yeah,
true.
it is. It's different. You have to deliver
Absolutely.
those clues. I could get off on a
Yes.
tangent really fast, but I think for women's fiction, it's probably different. Would y'all think?
Hmm.
For
Yes. I
sure.
think women's fiction is
Absolutely.
you're more following the trails. You're
Yeah.
following the paths the book is taking you through. Whereas with a mystery, you pretty much have to know the ending before you can even write the
Oh,
beginning.
yeah, you do.
So,
I have,
Absolutely.
yeah, you do. But now, do y'all do any of that like 4-act structure or 3-act structure or any of that? Or do you just have an idea and you sit down and write?
mine's mental. Is yours mental, Ashley? That where
Hmm.
basically I know first act, second act, third act, and then I consider my fourth one the sort of denouement, where I'm writing
Hmm.
out of the story, right? Closing up
Right.
the gaps. And then once that's done, I'll go back and make sure it links up with the first act. But that's just
Yeah.
all in my head, and I suspect it's in your head, Ashley.
It's all in my head. Yes, it comes. And, I spend
Yeah.
just, get it out I do a big first draft. It's all just the process of getting it all out. And then so much comes together in the second draft.
Yeah.
But you're
That's
right.
when you find
It's
out what you're really writing.
exactly.
You
And
know, I
it's
think
true.
in
It's
some
true
ways,
about
no, go ahead.
about the outlining after the fact. I do that a lot
Mhm.
because it's like, okay,
Yes.
well, she said this here, and I think maybe she said that somewhere else, and there's a lot of redundancy. It helps with
You have to
redundancy to
tie that up
easily,
neatly
yeah.
before you
Mhm,
send it to
mhm,
the
mhm.
editor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I don't know. For me, it's almost like that outline is like my first draft because I've got so much
Mhm.
in there. And
Mhm,
I'm just
mhm.
saying this is how the story's going to go. This is how it's going to flow. And by the time I'm actually putting words on, into a Word document or a Pages document, it's kind of like my second draft because I figured out what's going to happen, and now I'm just putting more meat on the bones, I guess, in that step. Anyway,
I think you're right about that. I think for those of us who
It's
write
true. I can
very
see that.
organically or a pantster, we're
Hmm.
doing it
Hmm.
more in our heads.
Right.
Maybe
Hmm.
putting it on paper makes it feel like a commitment, and then we feel bad if we have to
Yep.
change it. But we're just spending our time differently. It's
Yeah.
either stewing in
Yeah.
here or you're putting it on a paper.
Yeah. Everybody has their
Exactly.
own process. It's interesting
It's true.
because they're very subtle differences and sometimes big differences in how everybody approaches this, and yet everybody gets where they need to go. So it's interesting. So
I
Ashley,
do
do you
think
want
it's
to tell us
interesting.
a little bit? I think there's just a little bit of a delay. I feel like I keep talking on top of you and I don't mean to, but it's like I don't hear you talking until anyway, sorry about that. Do you want to talk to us a minute about your books that are set in Virginia as well?
Sure. Yeah. So there's the Hope Springs series, and that is set in, well, my daughter went to WNL, and I love the little town of Lexington. And that was my inspiration for Hope Springs. And there's an inn there that Stella inherits from the father she never knew she had. And she was living in New York, so she comes down and she's inherited this just totally broken down inn. And there's all kinds of family that she didn't know she had, and it's a really fun series. And people come in from really the characters are probably in upper 20s, early 30s, but they're bartenders and chefs and all kinds of different personnel associated with the inn, and just really fun.
Mhm.
I love that series. So then there are a few characters in that series that inspired me to do the Virginia Vineyard series, and that one is set in a little town called Lovely, fictional towns, both of them, but it's just down the road from Hope Springs. And so I just, it's about the Love family who owns a vineyard, and they are
Okay.
around the little town of Lovely. And so there's some interesting characters in that series, good and bad. But I had a really good time writing that series, and I just finished this book that's coming out in March. If you don't mind me talk about it for a second,
No,
because I think it's
actually, that's what I want you to talk about. Is what's coming up next.
so interesting story about this. This when I was learning I mean, I've always been an avid reader, but I decided that I wanted to try writing. So I took all these online classes for years, and it was just a hobby. And I was working on this book about this a family drama set in Alabama, about a brother's disappearance, and I wrote that book from every point of view and every tense. I mean, I wrote that book inside and out, and finally, I just couldn't get just some mystery and suspense involved. I couldn't get certain things to make sense to me. So I just abandoned the whole project. But really, I mean, I learned to write with that project. So this past summer, those characters just crept back into my mind again, and I thought, well, okay, let's revisit this project. So I searched all my hard drives, all my computers. I had saved all these documents, and I mean, I had a lot of documents. Couldn't find them, could not. So I had to start all over.
Oh
And it
no.
honestly was the best thing that could have happened, because while I remembered a lot of the story, the, and I was able to look at it from a different perspective. 30
Hmm.
books later, I had a completely different perspective of what happened. And I was able to like make certain changes and make everything work. And so now it's coming out, Sin of Magnolia. This is the
Nice.
author, the proof copy. It's got this
Hmm.
yellow, this gray band around it, but it's coming
Hmm.
out in March. So it's a standalone. There will not be any. It's not a series or anything. But I feel like, and it took me a long. It's a big book. It's 80 some thousand words.
Wow.
Took me longer than usual to write it, and I got very bogged down in these characters. I really studied their motivations, and when it was difficult to make. There are three main characters, making sure, and there's a lot going on, but I wanted to make sure that everything made sense. Why their motivations made sense, and then I had to
Right.
make sure that the brother's disappearance made sense. And so it was complicated. I was very tired when I finished this book, but
Now, where is this one set?
It's set in Alabama,
Alabama.
a
That's
fictional
right.
town in Alabama.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
Langford, honestly, I can't even remember the name of the town, but just a cute little fictional town. So it's I'm excited to finally get birth to this has
Yes.
been with me for a very long time. So
Well,
and
we'll
the
look forward
advanced
to that.
reviews are the readers are really enjoying it. So I think it'll be fun. But it's a huge sense of accomplishment to have finally gotten that one out of my head. So
I can imagine. You know, I did a similar thing with my first book where I wrote it from like several different, like I wrote it in first person, I wrote it in third person, I wrote it in,
mhm,
you know, all of it in, you know, just from Liz's point of view, and then I had some other point of view characters, and then I went back
mhm.
you know, eventually, and just put it all in first person Liz's. But I had written it several different ways, and I think I was kind of teaching myself how to do it,
Right.
and what finding out what felt most organic for me. And I think I'm always going to be a first person writer. And I know some people love that and some people don't, but it's just what feels right for me. I don't know. Grace, what's your preference?
Good question.
I write in first person,
Yeah.
and if I want it in third person, then I translate it into third person
I
when I'm
remember
doing
you
my
saying
final
that now.
editing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's
just
interesting.
naturally, though there are times where in the midst of writing in first person, I'll start writing in third person. And I think that's a defense mechanism. When things feel too close, you want to
Hmm.
put that slight distance between you. So
Interesting.
that always amazes me when I'm going through editing, processing, and realizing that this character in this scene, it's all told in third person.
Right.
So
Now, Ashley, Magnolia Nights was in third person. Do you always write in third person or do you mix it up some now?
I really love to write in first person,
Hmm.
but I think because the way I typically structure my novels from different points, from multiple points of view,
mhm.
Hmm.
where the characters have different chapters, it's too many first persons. So,
Right.
like with Hope Springs, I started out writing Stella's point of view, and I think the whole Big Dream Stella may be in first person. But then when I decided to make a series out of it, then I brought in some more characters. So subsequent installments are from different characters' points of view. But I kept Stella's from first person because it had been first person in the first one, and then the other
Right.
ones were third person.
I
To
liked what
hopefully
you did in
make variant.
Magnolia Nights. You kept me between the diary, the
The diary,
journal,
yeah.
yeah,
So that's
being
first.
in
That's
first person,
first
and then Ellie being in third
Hmm.
person.
in present tense. Yes.
Yeah, that
Right.
made a whole lot of difference for me in being able to go, oh no, wait, no, wait, this is the journal.
Right.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hope Springs, I mean, I'm sorry, the Alabama book. Hold up your cover again. Yeah, that's
Santa
next.
Magnolia.
You're right,
Yes,
Santa
March
Magnolia.
15th.
Okay, March 15th. And then what's your next release after that?
And then that's the first of the new Sweeney series, and that's called
Right.
After the Storm. I haven't um, revealed that cover yet. It's pretty. So that's
All right.
coming in May sometime. I haven't picked a date yet. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm just finishing that up now. I'm in my final draft of that. I'll send it off to my beta readers at the end of this week, I hope. So then I
Okay.
don't know what I'll do. I guess I'm getting ready to move as we were talking about. So I'm packing some boxes.
Yeah, you're going to be busy for a while. Okay. Well, thank you very
Thank you
much for
so much for
doing
having
this.
me. And thank
Oh,
you
This
for
was
we're
taking the
fun.
delighted to
time
have
to
you.
read my book.
It was
I
wonderful. I
really
really
enjoyed
enjoyed
it.
it.
Thank you.
I
And
did
I
too. It was a
did.
great,
I felt
great read.
that I felt the there's a similarity between Karen White books and yours, but I liked
That's a compliment.
having the softer paranormal aspect. As much as I loved the Trad Street books, I really enjoyed the way you did it, and I loved your setting descriptions
Well, thank you.
and your characters interacting with the descriptions. It was really outstanding.
I'm overdue a visit to Charleston. I think I need to schedule that in soon.
We're going back down there in April,
Me
so
too.
Oh,
Oh,
what
I
a
need
great
to go.
time.
Well, I'm going in April as well. I need to schedule about a month there. So, anyway, Maybe we'll all meet
That
there
would be fun.
at some point. All right.
Shem
You guys
Creek.
have, yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. You guys have a great afternoon. Thanks so much. It was good to
Take
see
care,
you
everybody.
guys.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.